So we've got a lovely walking fish here, an axolotl. And we've just tested the water. And the ammonia is pretty much zero. Nitrite is pretty much zero. Nitrate is pretty much zero. pH is a little bit on the acid side. KH is 1, so a little bit lower than I want. And the GH is about 14. So I won't be adding any GH. We've got some water ager here, so I'll make sure I add some of that. We've got some algae fix for some reason. Oh, there's another water ager. Haven't seen that one for a long time. What else we got here? Got some food. More water ager. We definitely don't want pH down. That's the one I want. I'll add a bit of buffer. I don't need GH. A bit more food for some reason. So I've got what I need. And I've removed the ornaments, given them a clean. Now it needs a good water change. And when I removed the rock, a terrible hydrogen sulfide smell came up. And so they did have some polyfilter. So I popped that in straight away so that can start removing the hydrogen sulfide out of the water. And it's very fine sand, so I'll give that a stir and give it a bit of a water change. Now when you're using these gravel cleaners to clean the gravel with the really fine sand, you've got to make sure that you kink the hose, otherwise it sucks all the sand up. So if you kink the hose, then you'll get to use the gravel cleaner. If you use it on full throttle, you'll suck all the sand out. Now, because this is a walking fish tank, the fact that it's got sand is very good, but at the same time, we don't want the sand too thick, otherwise it does tend to go anoxic, and that can actually be toxic for the animals. So it's important the sand is stirred regularly, otherwise the sand can become toxic, which isn't ideal. So this is a big male walking fish, and you can tell that he's male by the two big lumps under his, just right behind his back legs. So they are quite easy to sex when they're big, but when they're young, it's very hard to tell the difference. It's really important I don't change more water than this, particularly in winter. Otherwise we can shock the animal. But this is obviously way overdue for a service. So I'd be recommending a repeat service as often as possible until this water's nice and clear and clean and looked after. I put fresh polyfilter in here, and fresh polyfilter will do a surprisingly good job at polishing up the water. These all-in-one top filters, they're actually relatively effective filters, and they're actually very easy to clean. And in this case, I've just put in some fresh polyfilter, and polyfilter is amazing stuff for absorbing and absorbing anything impure out of the water. We also need to make sure the impeller is clean on a regular basis. Right now it's pumping very well. Now with these top filters, it's important that when the water falls back into the aquarium, we want to get a little bit of dropping or a little bit of surface agitation. So I'll just take a tiny bit of water out now. And I'm really not a big fan of relying on one thing for your animal. I would rather have like an aerator as well. And the aerator is going to create a bit of contingency if something goes wrong. Because that way, if the pump turns off for whatever reason, if it's unplugged or if it clogs or whatever it is, then we've still got some bubbles going on. So the other thing that the bubbles are going to do is increase the oxygen. And inside this filter is going to grow lots of good bacteria. And the good bacteria in the filter is going to suck all the oxygen out of the water. So when the water falls back into the aquarium, it's often basically an oxygen deficit. So therefore, having a bubbler to improve the oxygen in the water is a really good idea. So adding an aerator is something I'm a big fan of. I'm also a very big fan of the razor blade magnet cleaners. because I find that they're just so good for easily keeping the glass clean. And I'm very scared of these, because these sort of style sponges often have anti-mold agents in them. And I have been involved in situations where people have used sponges similar to this one. Not saying this one, by the way, but and then actually lost fish or animals. The other thing that you could consider doing just for a bit of fun is, at the moment he's in there all by himself. He's really a beautiful boy. It's really a beautiful animal. And one thing you could try with very let's say suspicious success is adding some fish like mountain clouds or zebra danios. Now, they will definitely entertain him. They will definitely keep him company, but up to him whether he eats them or not. Sometimes you put them with the walking fish and he just knocks them all off pretty quickly. And then other times they end up like almost friends and then he knocks them off. So anyway, whenever you add fish with the walking fish, there is definitely a risk. But I have seen it work, and I've definitely seen it not work. I've also taken out some plants because it's a bit busy in there. I'd like him to have a little bit more room to wander around, and you can keep these guys together too. So by all means, you could consider getting another one, because they do they can be friends, but sometimes they don't get along, and occasionally they bite each other's legs off. Usually it grows back. But as far as these animals are concerned, everything is suck it and see. Because one person's experience with something like a walking fish is definitely not the same as anyone else's. Now, this sand is super fine, so stirring the sand on a semi-regular basis is really important, because we don't want bad gases forming underneath the sand, which definitely did happen in this case. Now, I got a hydrogen sulfide release when I moved that decoration. Now, on the basis that I've got polyfilter in the filter, I'm actually not worried about the hydrogen sulfide at all, but I will say that there has been times when I've moved a rock or moved fine sand, released hydrogen sulfide and watched all the animals die right in front of me. Also, the hydrogen sulfide does actually make you sick as well. So there has been times when you release hydrogen sulfide and you're looking over the top of it and then you start feeling sick. So it's not sort of ideal. Hydrogen sulfide is easily avoided by stirring the sand on a semi-regular basis, or simply just having polyfilter in the filter. And when I say polyfilter, I mean the real polyfilter, not like a fake polyfilter. That's polyfilter there. Now, the animal looks very healthy. Like, the water quality is actually quite good. He actually looks really good. It's really important with these animals, you're watching their belly. So if he's got a little bit of a belly, then I'm very happy. And I'm very happy with this fellow. I don't want a big bold belly where he basically drags his belly along the ground while he's walking. And I definitely don't want it concaved. So it's really important over a period of months that you're watching his belly. We've got food here. He's a really beautiful animal. Very popular these days since Minecraft. Everyone loves the walking fish. And this water will clear up in no time with the polyfilter in there. And it's really important that the biomedia underneath the polyfilter is never cleaned in tap water. If you ever want to clean it, you just take it out, give it a little rinse in water from the fish tank, which won't have any chlorine in it. And for now, I'd be trying to keep the light off as much as possible, because the light is going to be causing more algae. So I'd only have the light on when I'm likely to be enjoying him. And swapping around the decorations, like you can swap out some of the other things you've got on a semi-regular basis, isn't a bad thing, because it does entertain him and give him a new little world to explore. Her name is Rosie, and Rosie is named after Axl Rose, from a true Guns N' Roses fan. Well, my son is James, after James Hetfield.